First of all, $3.5 billion a year is what this tax would raise. As you said earlier, about 9.9% on folks' income above $1 million. Right. So it would fill that $2 billion gap, but it would also allow a lot of tax relief for low-income folks and middle-income folks, as well as small businesses. So the goal is both equity in terms of tax fairness in the system, but also tax reduction and additional dollars for state government. So it's a pretty big proposal in a short legislative session.
Yeah, so this legislative session is ending on March 12th. Today, Governor Bob Ferguson said that, he wants to see some changes before he would sign this bill. So what is the governor asking for with these changes? Yeah,
there is this tension between raising more money for government and providing tax relief or tax reform. The governor's coming down on the side of tax reform. So how do we lower taxes for low income, middle income, as well as small businesses? So in those negotiations, he's pushing pretty hard for additional dollars to be allocated toward the tax reform piece of it and not just raising new dollars for state government.
Yeah, he wants to see more here. And how unusual is it for the governor to be at odds with lawmakers from his own party?
Yeah, well, we're in that middle of that sausage making of the legislative process. So the back and forth, the bill was introduced today by Senate Democratic leadership and House leadership. And so the governor's first reaction, the back and forth on some of the technical issues, the battle is really over the spending more than the structure or the design of the millionaire's income tax.
And let's talk about the other side of this too, because opponents say and argue that it could push wealthy residents, businesses out of our state, which could be detrimental to the economy as well. So is that a real risk, or is it overstated?
Yeah, in the last 4 years, there's really been a pretty substantial shift for the state to create an income, a capital gains tax, very substantial increase in the estate tax, which has a big effect. Washington's really an outlier now, and now the millionaire's income tax. So it is a pretty big shift overall in those last couple of years, but we're living in a new era, and Democrats are arguing that the public's appetite for this type of taxation system has really changed in the last few years under both the Trump administration and the way they see billionaires making money. So there's a real political conversation underway.
Yeah, and you just spoke about the history of taxes in our state. And, for many who might want to move here, who might be the wealthier, like this state, because there is no state income tax. And so would voters get the ultimate say here on this issue, do you think?
Yeah, that's right. You probably do very much have a likely journey of the bill, if it passes both the House and the Senate, signed by the governor, then to go to the state Supreme Court for a determination, and then ultimately probably will make its way to the voters. The governor has said that. Everyone is sort of expecting that, and that would mean it would be on the ballot for the voters directly to determine. But it's tough because obviously you've got a whole campaign, and the pros and the cons come out, and it's not cut and dry exactly how it would unfold.
Right, and also what is tough is a $2 billion deficit as well. So bottom line, who benefits most from this tax, and who ends up paying the price if there is one?
Right. If there's a substantial increase in the working families tax credit, in small business tax relief, of course you see real benefits there. If it's just additional dollars for state government to spend additional money, I think it's harder for people to see some of the benefits of that, and it avoids $2 billion in cuts, as you said. So ultimately, who benefits, who pays, is the real question. But it's a pretty big policy and a political shift in our state.
Yeah, and this proposal is still being ironed out right now. And you have been really in the middle of this before, obviously. So what is it like right now as we're about, a month and 12 days away from this session ending?
Yeah, it is a short legislative session. And when you're in the state capitol, when you're in the House or the Senate and negotiating tough bills, we're coming up on deadlines every single day. This bill captures most of the public attention, but there's hundreds and hundreds of other bills that are, making their way through committee. And of course, the old joke that no one's life or liberty is safe while the legislature in session is still a joke that resonates. But ultimately, the session is moving forward very quickly, and I think you'll see a lot of activity on not only this bill, but many others.
All right, and we will definitely keep you all updated for sure. Thank you so much for joining us, former State Senator Reuven Carlyle.
Thank you.